over to you.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'd just love to tell you about Pilgrim Salt in the community a bit more. You saw those happy children, I just want to run through perhaps from the very beginning when the project started about 12 years ago. We, as a Zambia Society, have been supporting them for the last about 3 years. It started when Grace Kambilambilo and Justin Chaloma, brother and sister, they became aware of a forgotten area in Serenji district, Kalinanama. Can we have a slide up, John? Yeah. This is an area of widely scattered, very small settlements. People are suffering from the effects of extreme poverty, malnutrition, leading very separate lives, no sense of community, and very little hope. Can we move on, John? Grace and Justin, this is where they are. This is where the blue blob is, right in the centre of Zambia there. They decided they'd do something about it to help build up the community, and they formed the charity, Pilgrim Salt in the Community. Judy and I knew Grace and Justin well, and we set up a small charity in the UK here to raise funds for Pilgrim, to support what they were doing in Zambia. And this UK charity is called Growing Communities Zambia. Can we move on, John? That's Grace and Justin. Can we move on to the next one? We'll see Grace in action. Grace turned out to be a powerful, servant-hearted leader. Here she is at a gathering of local people, explaining the vision. If we move on, we'll put up the vision that they had. This is the group of people she's talking to. These are all the local people. They've gathered together. The vision is to create a resource village to bring new hope and prosperity where people are suffering desperate poverty and malnutrition. So that was what she was on her heart, and Justin to do there. And the first major job was to construct access for vehicles to provide some communication links to Serenji and beyond, because the place is really cut off. And this has opened up opportunities for people to visit from outside, and also for local people to get to Serenji. Move on, John. The resource village that they had in mind would have 4 main areas of activity: education, health, farming, and a church. And we move on to education to start with. Here are some happy children. They're in lines this time, not dancing around in a circle. But the first thing is to build your school. So if we move on, John. The school children were very much involved in building their own school here, because they were very, very keen to have a school. And this young man was carrying the bricks, locally burnt bricks, clay from the riverbank, burnt and then into bricks, and carried up the hill to build the school. I think move on a couple of slides. Here we are. Everyone was involved: mums, babies, carting bricks up from the school, and gradually the school starts to take shape. Move on. And here we are, finished building, children rushing in to get started. It's just wonderful to see enthusiastic children rushing to get to school. It's not something you always see here, but certainly it was very encouraging to us to see this. The school opened in 2015, and currently they have 152 pupils registered in grades 1 to 6. And they're just finishing building a new pre-grade classroom for children of 3 and above. John? To start with, it was, this is real servant leadership. That's grace and faith, and carting water up from the river. And next one, they sank a borehole and now have running water, which makes a huge difference. And we move on. To start with, there were no desks. Youngsters were sitting on the floor. Sometimes lesson one was how to hold a pencil, of course, because people were starting from scratch here. These youngsters hadn't had any experience of writing very much. And they were very keen to get started. So if you move on. We had lessons were of all sorts of shapes and sizes, and classes were growing gradually. Move on. Including some fun, heads and shoulders, feet and toes. Very good English language lesson. Moving on. As well as the children coming, some of the parents are very keen to learn to read and write themselves. And so Kenny, the teacher here, it also ran adult literacy classes for mums and some dads as well. And they're still running to this day. That's one. So this is the parents are very keen to sort of get alongside the children and catch up with the children, which was great to see. And the next one, we have desks, and this is a more recent photo of, as you can see, during the pandemic times, mask time. Teacher with proper desks, proper chairs to sit on, looking at more like a sort of school now. And it's also, we are now making sure they have lunch every day, hot lunch. These are the cooks. And here are the children having lunch around the school area. And it's becoming a very happy place to be. If we could move on, the parents are getting very involved now, not only as students, but now they have a parent-teachers association, and they're very active and they're very keen, and it's all very much part of this community coming together. So these are people now who are actively getting involved in running the school, taking decisions, deciding about the school, and getting really involved in what's going on, which is so encouraging for us to see. Part of what's happening is an extension. There's been an extra classroom has been built to make 2 decent classrooms plus an office. That's the school at the moment. Well, it's finished in a better way now, and there are now two classrooms and an office, so there are 3 classes. Another classroom is really needed now, because the older children do meet in the school office, which is quite small. But this is the other end of the spectrum, where this is the 3 years old and plus the preschool children. This is a little hut for them, little house for them to be built. And it's now more or less finished. Next one, this is the photo that Tim showed you, the movie. That's the preschool building just on the right there. The roof is just about to be finished. There's still a few gaps in it. And lots of fun too. So the school is doing well. It's growing. As the children grow beyond grade 6, we try and help. They try and help them to move on to a secondary school, but of course that requires travelling further afield and requires a bit of funding. So that's going to be something for the future to be addressed. How best to help children move on. Another something for the future as well is to build some accommodation blocks. So children walk a very long way to get to school, 2 or 3 hours sometimes walking. For the young ones especially, that's pretty tough. And so if they could stay over for the week, I think that would be a great help. So accommodation blocks would be great, and that's on plans for the future. Here are the children saying thank you to the people who've made it possible for them to come to school. Thank you. Yeah. The second area to look at, farming. Justin is an experienced farm manager, and he is able to bring that expertise to help establish productive farming in this area, field crops and the vegetable garden, and also livestock. So this is a picture of some of the field crops, and if we move on, we can see this is the sort of land beforehand. So there's quite a bit of stumping to be done, clearing, to make fields which are where we can grow stuff. This is the vegetable garden, which is near the river, so as well as having field crops, not just maize, of course, but also beans, cassava, trying to diversify the crops. People have previously had grown mainly millet in sort of slash and burn and very small little patches. Now people are being encouraged to work together and establish proper farming, and work together in a cooperative way. Watering the vegetable garden from the river. They have a pump now pumping up water into a tank. And this is livestock. This is a fish pond, which is going to be just being built for fish farming. This is the latest venture, and hasn't really got going yet, but they're planning to build 2 or 3 of these. It's quite a well-established thing in Zambia to have these fish farms, and as well as this, they've tried various things, goats and bees and things from the past. What they're settling on really are chickens and pigs are going well, and hopefully the fish will go well too. So there's a lot happening. One of the things that they've done as well is to establish a grain bank to help people through the lean times, and they're very careful to store up grain so that they can then balance it out over the times when there's very little to eat. That's always a problem. We're trying to cover that gap when the grain runs out. Okay, if we move on, John. Health. This poor child has malaria, which is very common. Grace is a nurse and was very keen from the beginning to build a health post to cover basic health needs, things like malaria, particularly childbirth problems, and also to give health advice. We move on. This is the health post being built. Being built to government specifications, so hopefully in due course it can be recognised. And you can see this is the finished building, more or less. We can see what's going on inside. Grace tells me that the number of children dying from malaria now is massively reduced. It's only 3 or 4 a year now, and it used to be dozens and dozens. And young children are very susceptible to malaria, and there are medicines available. And the district health office provides basic medicines to the health post. More serious problems can be referred on to the nearest clinic, and people can be helped to get there. We're hoping, I think Faith is planning to be there next year to work at the health post, and I hope that can happen, and she'll be a huge asset to the team then. Thank you, John. If we move on. The fourth component, church, meeting in the school, and this is a centre for the community to meet, and people come from quite a way, church on Sundays, and also during the week all sorts of meetings happen, and Justin tours the villages and has Bible studies. And so that's very much part of the community. Okay. Now, visitors are welcome. So if you're thinking of a holiday in Zambia, you could actually, staying at a nice hotel in Lusaka is one way of doing it, but you could also come here and stay here. We've stayed here a couple of times, very comfortable. You even get hot water delivered. Here we are. That's hot water being delivered to your hut, and I can recommend it. And so it will be people now can come and stay, and of course there's quite a growing number of people who actually need to work there, because there are teachers and health post volunteers who need to stay in the village as well. So building accommodation has been something that's been going on all the while. Next one, John. Oh yeah, I think in the early days of independence, KK gave a speech where he talked about the future of Zambia relying on, his vision was servant leadership, active cooperation, people working together and working hard. And I think that when I saw that, it just summed up what's going on at Kalila Nama. And it's the vision that Grace and Justin had, is to get people working together and creating prosperity for themselves. And it's just absolutely exciting to see it actually happening now. Could move on. This is Grace again, and this is the slide I showed before. This is where she was in the early days, setting out the vision to the people. And we were there at this meeting, and Judy and I, and one of the villagers stood up and said, "You're offering us a rope of hope. We will grab hold of it to pull ourselves out of poverty." We thought that's just a wonderful picture of what's happening. They could see it's not something that somebody from outside is sort of doing to them. That Grace and Justin, the local people, they're offering them some help in helping themselves to create a sustainable, prosperous community. And we've got to the point now, 10 years on, 12 years on, when we can just see it happening. And I think at the last communication we had with Grace, she was saying that there's now light at the end of the tunnel, and they're seeing things that they were dreaming about. They're now seeing them happening. There are children being educated who weren't being educated before. Some quite older children are starting from scratch, but better late than never, as she said. And children are surviving malaria and not dying of malaria as they once were. And there's a sense of real hope. And it's exciting. It's tangible. You can pick it up. People are now getting involved. Local people are now getting involved in leading the project and being part of the leadership team. In the future, next steps, we're hoping to get government support for the health post. At the moment, it's volunteers. Another classroom to the school, which is expanding. The boarding houses I mentioned for the school children to save all that walking. Monday to Friday boarding will be wonderful. Practical skills training. At the moment, it's mainly agriculture. People learning about agriculture, horticulture, looking after animals, but other skills training I have in mind as well. Practical stuff, carpentry and so on. And building up more local leaders, that's happening, and also spreading the word and replicating, because I think this is the kind of project that could be replicated elsewhere. It doesn't require a massive amount of input. What it does require is servant leadership, commitment, enthusiasm, and I think if we can find that, and people are prepared to put in hard work, we've seen it happen, and it will be great to see it happen again somewhere else. But so we're excited to see these next steps happening. But I think they've really reached a landmark now, and they've reached a point where they can say we've achieved a great deal over this. And I think I'm very proud of what they've done. The team, Grace and Justin, and they have others in the team as well. Grace's husband, and there's others involved. Evans, who is a teacher, a head teacher, who is very much part of the education. And they have a good strong team, and local people getting more involved as well.